Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's November 30th, 2025. It's Sunday morning. And I hope you had a good Thanksgiving weekend. It's been a long weekend. And I'm just getting around to making a short video. What I want to talk about is, well, the November add-on is uploaded. It's been up there. I might just continue to use the November add-on through December. I don't really have any major changes in mind. What I do with this is I look at the markets and stocks and so on through the lens of HES Investor. And this week I'm going to talk about CANSLIM type SmartGroups. Now, these don't meet the absolute definition of CANSLIM stocks because I'm just primarily looking at stocks with 20% earnings and revenue growth. But that's what's in the filter, and I'm going to show you what it pulls up. Always remember the market is your teacher. We learn that all the time, don't we? Standard risk disclaimer: any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. And what I'm going to do is I'm getting into these smart groups. You should have these, but when I update my non-index files, I update these few groups right here. So like if you look up here, you'll see the CANSLIM type stocks. You can go back through these. The history I keep 1 year. But the current stocks are always down here under my user smart groups under my name. And these are the categories that I look at. You can see there's CANSLIM type all, which means all of the stocks that meet the criteria of 20% revenue growth and earnings growth. That's a year over year, quarter to over quarter. So you can see there's 140 of them, as 184 of them as of Friday. Now this one is CANSLIM type stocks crossing over with the fan up. In other words, the 3 is going up through the 6. This cuts it down from 184 down to 11. These are setting up, which means they haven't crossed over yet, and this cuts the list all the way down to what, 6? And then these are CANSLIM continuation stocks, and I'll show you that on the chart, what that means. And then these are all of the CANSLIM stocks that have a fan up. In case you don't know what the fan is, bring an arrow up here. Okay, I got it right this time. That's the 200. Here's the 100. This is a 50, and this is the 18. You can see them a little bit better over here. So if those are stacked properly, I consider that having the fan up. It just shows long-term institutional interest in a stock. So if I zoom out here, you can see that this stock, what is this, New Gold, this fan has been up for quite some time here. Yes, it's contracted, built a base here, but then it started expanding again. And whenever those lines are stacked, that means the fan is up. Now looking at this closely, if I put a crosshair on here, if we go back here, you can see the fan was up when this was a $1.70 stock maybe. So all during this period except when the 3 came down through the 6, and you can see that right here. That really doesn't matter, the 3 and the 6. If the fan is stacked, that's really all that matters. So what we're looking for are areas where the lines are expanding. They contract here and then they expand here. So the fan is expanding all the way through here as buyers come in. And like I said, that's usually a sign of strong institutional interest. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on this. Maybe that's a little too close. But let's go back here, and I don't want to look at all. I want to look at CANSLIM type stocks crossing over with the fan already being up. So let's click through to a warehouse view. And then I think I'll bring up the ranking module. And flip through there. And this is set on Wilder 14 weeks, which I like to use this setting because it shows me the strongest stocks with this setting. Let's just bring this one up. You can see this is a very strong stock with the fan set up 200, 150, 18, and then the 3 and the 6, of course. Now I call this CANSLIM type crossing over. If you look at my warehouse view, and these warehouse views are mostly, if not all, standardized, these are the crossover days. I have a 2-day window. 0 means the crossover day is today, and 1 means it's a 2-day window, or yesterday. And the crossover is the 3-6. It's not the fan, but there is a fan requirement. Crossing over fan up, and this is a group of stocks that I'm using. So if I bring this up, you can see the fan's in place, and what is the crossover here? Expand Energy, this happened yesterday. There was the crossover, the 3 and the 6. You can see it on the histogram down here, and you can also see the actual crossover here. If you look up at this top window, cyan represents the industry group, and green is the strength of this stock compared to the industry group, and you can see that the green is moving up, so it's outperforming its industry group. Now what makes this a CANSLIM type stock is I'm going to open up the fundamentals and notice the earnings growth here, these last 2 quarters compared to 625 and 925 a year ago. These were negative. Look at the growth here. You can also see it in the chart here. Red represents revenue. Blue represents EPS and projected EPS. I'm going to go full screen on this. And by the way, you should be watching these videos in 4K if you're watching them, because you get the same effect that I get when I record. So what are the requirements here? Well, the fan is up, and we have the crossover. Now back here, it wouldn't have counted because the fan wasn't up. This stock would not have come up at this point. It would have come up with the 3 crossing the 6, but not with the fan requirement. Okay, I'm going to move on here. And let's take a look at Micron Technology. Okay, here's Micron. It's been moving for a long time. You can see that the fan formed clear back here, and there was an effort to rise, and the stock was trading for about $120 at this point, $100 less than it's trading for right now. You can see the crossover right here, the 3 and the 6. That happened yesterday, or not yesterday, whenever, one day ago. And here it's kind of following through narrow body It's kind of late in the game on this. If we go back here to this one, it looks like the fan was in place. 200, 150, the 18, effort to rise. At the same time, there was a crossover, so this would have been coming up in the scan on this day, and that goes back to 9, what are we on, 9/4/25. But look up here, you can see the earnings growth here, both in this chart right here and the actual numbers. So it qualifies as a CANSLIM stock, and just out of curiosity, I went back to 9/4/24, and you can see that Micron was in here, and that's under the fan up. So let's go back here. 9/4/24. So the fan was up, and it was showing up as a CANSLIM stock. Go back to that again. There it is. This is why I keep a history for a year, so I can go back and see if they were showing up or not. Not only did it appear as right here with the fan, you can see that there was pocket pivot volume also. The 3 crossed the 6 crossed the 18, and the 18 was already above the 50. So that was an opportune time to catch it with these SmartGroups. Okay, let me move on here. So back to this one, crossing over, fan up. You can see the crossover. Let's look for CANSLIM type stocks setting up with the fan up. I don't like that one. Okay, now here's one. You can see the earnings, the percent EPS change and revenue change compared to the same quarters a year ago. But this stock has fallen, and where am I here? The fan is up, but just barely. Now, if this cyan goes up through the 18, the fan will no longer be up. But it's just a mathematical formula, and I'd love to be able to see the 18 expanding, but we don't have that capability in a filter. So the fan is still up. You can see that there are several VPA flags here as this is setting up. The industry group is cyan. It's underperforming its group, though. The green line says it's underperforming the group, but with all these VPA flags here, it's setting up. It hasn't crossed over yet. You can see that. Let's look at one more in here. How about SanDisk? Okay, looks like it's performing along with this group. Both of these are flat. Not much earnings information in here yet, but it passed the filter, so no 200-day. This stock has not been out, or it's. Look at this base on here. Let's zoom out here. This stock, I don't know the story on SanDisk. This company's been around a long time. It fell out of favor, and then it took off right here. I don't see a 200-day moving average line. It is still passing the fan up filter. I'm not quite sure why, but anyway, you can see that It is setting up. It hasn't crossed over yet. Probably not a good choice to look at it, but anyway, I'm going to leave it in there. Okay, now let's look at the continuation fan up. What do I mean by continuation? I mean that the 3 has to be above the 6, and we have to have volume pocket pivots. So I consider that a continuation. And it crossed over back here. It's beyond the 2-day window. It crossed over back here. You can see it. But there's 2 efforts to rise and volume pocket pivot. Let's just drop down or up to the top here. Volume pocket pivot. You can see this one crossed over clear back here. This is what makes it a continuation, because the 3 is above the 6, and we're seeing volume coming into it. So this is continuation. It pulled back a little bit. This is continuation. This is continuation. Once again, continuation. The crossover happened back here. So it just tells me that after the crossover, volume is coming into this, so there's interest in these stocks, and of course, they're CANSLIM stocks. Look at the earnings growth and revenue growth these quarters compared to the same quarters 1 year ago. So everything I've looked at there, I believe, is well, most of them are in the precious metal and mining. Here's a semiconductor, but most are in the precious metal and mining. Look at the semiconductor. Continuation, continuation, and continuation. Why is there no blue bar here? Because my continuation filter requires the pocket pivot volume or an effort to rise. It's in the filter. So if you see that, if you're looking at it and there's no blue bar in here, look to see if there's an effort to rise, which tells me it's a continuation scan. I'm going to end this. That was kind of disjointed, but I'm feeling a little bit shaky today. I wanted to get something out to you. The add-on is updated, and just give you something to think about, because I'm going to be going through some of these smart groups that I track, so you can just see if they have any value or not. And I started out with the CANSLIM type stock today because this is the order, but I plan to go through all of these and point out the strengths and the weaknesses and why they even pass the filter. Thanks for listening. Have a good week. The market seems to want to go up, but that can change at any moment, as we all know. Thanks for listening.